All right. So I really wanted to jump on here for a second and talk about insurance. Insurance is something that I know is really a hot topic in the industry right now. Mostly, insurance premiums continue to go up. And I'm talking in my case specifically for aircraft owner insurance. But I think they go up across the board. And I really wanted to share some recent experience I had with insurance, with a specific insurance company. Not that I'm plugging that company. I am fond of them. They've done good work for me, but by no means is this a paid sponsorship or paid in any way. I just want to give my honest opinion of what I've seen and some decisions we made. When I say we, I mean me and my partner made for our specific airplane. And I just want to know more. I want you to know more than anything. There's options out there. We are not constrained by a single option, and I think that's important to know. I also think it's really important to think about and understand your own personal circumstances as you make these decisions. And I'll talk through mine. I'll tell you a little bit more about me and a little bit more about my circumstances that allowed me to make the decision that I did. Now, everybody's circumstances are different. So don't take this as your gospel. Just take it and understand that there are options, and you should think pretty deeply about what's right for you. The answer of you must have insurance is not the only answer, or you must have full coverage insurance on your airplane might not be the only answer, and it might not be best for you. So, anyways, through this, I'll talk about some of the people that I use, right? Specifically, my insurance agency or the insurance agency I use for the airplane, and some other insurance that I have personally. And any of those people that I talk about, I will link them in the description down below, or in the description down below, because maybe they can help you. Again, I'm not being paid by them, but I think it's important that you have resources. We all need resources to make the best decisions. So, and I really just believe in kind of finding what's real and talking about what's real. So I'll tell you about my real experience as of late. So many of you already know this, but I'll just kind of talk about my flying experience real briefly so you understand who I am and who the insurance company is insuring, I guess, for lack of better words. I'm about a 15-year pilot. I've been flying a long time, but I don't have a lot of hours. I've kind of come and gone a lot, and only recently, the last year or so, have I really got serious about flying. So I have about 150 hours, maybe 175 hours now, or a touch more. I'm not instrument rated. I'm a VFR pilot. I fly a 1963 Mooney M20C that I own in partnership with one other individual. Wes and I, my partner, are both very similar experienced pilots. The Mooney is the first retract we've ever flown. It's the first complex airplane we've ever flown, and it's the highest performance airplane we've ever flown. It's only 180 horsepower, so it's nothing crazy, and it's a beautiful plane to fly. But we really have little experience. He's not an instrument pilot. Like I said, I'm not either. We both intend to pursue it, but we're not there yet. So from the outside looking in, we're probably pretty high risk for insurance. So we bought the plane about a year ago, and when we bought it, we did choose to insure it fully. Now our plane is not an expensive plane by any stretch of the imagination. We insured the airplane for $40,000. We considered that its whole value, which in today's world, you might get a TBO 172 for that. Fortunately, I think there's a little bit more value in the Mooney market right now, and we were able to get a wonderful plane for that value, for that money. Anyways, so for the last year, we've been paying full coverage insurance, which includes the $40,000 hull value and liability coverage on the airplane. And we got quoted a rate. I'll be real honest. We quoted around a little bit, and we chose a company called Avemco, who I've been incredibly impressed with. Not just impressed with their ability to insure us, but their professionalism, and everybody you talk to on the phone from them is an insurance agent or an underwriter, or they can make decisions right there. So it's not a long process. It's very quick to get insurance. But anyways, 1 year ago when we bought the plane, we chose to insure it completely, and our policy cost $2,000 annually. You know, we'll call that rounded. It might have been a few cents more, but it was about $500 a quarter, and we paid every quarter. And we thought that was okay. You know, two really low time pilots. It's the first retract. You know, both of us had to get 10 hours in the plane to even be covered by the insurance. As long as we didn't have, if we had an instructor, we'd be covered. But we both needed the 10 hours in the plane with an instructor before they'd cover us solo. So we got our renewal notice this year, and the price had gone up, right? For the same coverage, it was going to be something like $2,300. And so that spurred a discussion between Wes and I, and then a subsequent discussion between the insurance company and myself to understand what options existed out there. Again, we're talking a $40,000 airplane, not a $250,000 airplane. And even less than that, it's owned between the two of us, so we're each only in it for about half of that value. So I called Avemco and just asked what options exist. So if you're looking to reduce your rate, I guess there's 4 options that exist. Number one, you can get more ratings. You can get more certifications, right? I could go get my instrument, right? Or I can go actually do some training or watch some webinars that Avemco offers, which is pretty awesome to get a discount for just watching webinars. It's amazing that I still haven't done that. I don't know. I don't understand it. I don't understand my laziness sometimes. So you can do that. You can go get better, more proficient, gain ratings. That can reduce your rate. You can choose 2 lower levels of coverage. So we'll call that option 1, or option 2, and option 3. The first step down in coverage is you can choose to eliminate coverage for when you are actually flying the airplane. That includes things like takeoff and landing, and of course potential bird strikes or crashes. You can take off the coverage for your airplane in the event of an accident happening during those times. So that in and of itself would have taken our rate down from that $2,300 range to $1,100 or $1,200, if I remember correctly. Now, you may say, wow, that's like the point of insurance, is being insured if you crash it. That may be the case, but at least for our plane, and I think probably the majority of planes out there, they're on the ground in the hangar more often than they're in the air. So if you're looking to be insured while the plane is on the ground, in your hangar or tied down on the ramp, then you can have that coverage and not be covered when you're actually operating the airplane. On ground ops, or while you're on the ground, also will cover you in the event of a taxi situation. You hit a runway light while you're taxiing, or if perhaps you another airplane strikes yours, or hangar rash. My understanding is the insurance will cover you there as well. It just does not cover you during an in-flight incident. So that was the first option. Or we'll call that option 2. So number 1, we have get more proficient. Number 2, we have ground ops, and while it's stored only, plus liability. And number 3 is liability only. So liability only takes away that while in storage insurance, or ground ops insurance, and of course the flight insurance. It is truly just liability. In this case, our liability coverage is $100,000 per person per incident, $1 million of property damage per incident, and a $1 million cap total, plus $3,000 in health related coverage per accident, medical expenses as they call it. So that was the third option, just having liability only. And then the fourth option in aviation is to have zero insurance, which is an option for some people. So I don't want to make you wait. I'll just tell you exactly the option we chose. And then I want to walk through briefly why it works for me or why it works for us. But I will be talking about me specifically here. I'm not going to speak for Wes and his situation. I'm only going to speak for me. So we did choose to transition from full coverage insurance to liability only insurance. That took our policy from what would have been about $2,300 annually to $598 annually for a 1963 Mooney M20C for 2 pilots with no instrument ratings and fairly low time. And I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that decision. And Avemco was easy to work with, and it was easy to make the policy change, and it's done now. So I want to talk a little bit about why that works for me in my situation. That way you can maybe think through a few of these criteria in your situation. So first and foremost, I've already mentioned this, but the plane isn't worth that much. I know $40,000 is really relative. It could be an incredible amount to some people, or it could be very little to others. It's a lot of money to me, but it's not end of the world money. It's money that I wouldn't want to have to come up with, but in a bad situation, maybe I could, right? Not the end of the world. So that's a risk reward thing. Am I okay with spending $1,000 a year to prevent losing $20,000 a year, which is my half? And I made the decision that I was okay with that. That's really what we've given up here. There's a couple other factors that I think about personally. One being, what if I was in a fatal accident and that plane had to be paid for? Could my family or my wife cover the cost, the expense? And I'm very fortunate to have a good life insurance policy, term life insurance policy, with a company who covers you in the event of an accident, an aviation accident specifically. They know I'm a pilot. My rate is adjusted very slightly for it. It's still very inexpensive. And that insurance policy will pay out even if I die in an airplane accident. So that means I'm not leaving the burden to my wife. If I live through it, well, then I'm still around to face that burden. And if I don't live through it, my wife really won't be affected at all. She'll be able to easily pay for it. And then probably the last thing that was important to me as I looked at my coverage was the fact that my health insurance doesn't care how I get hurt or where I get hurt. They will pay for medical expenses. So I didn't need to hold a huge aviation related or airplane insurance policy to cover those medical expenses. In the great state of Michigan that I live, there's some insurance reform that because my medical is first, I don't even have to carry personal injury protection on my auto insurance. Now that's a whole different subject and I won't get into it. It could be debated for a long time. But the reality is if I got hurt in an airplane accident, my medical coverage will pay for it or will cover me. So I thought through all those scenarios, I thought through all of the variables, and for us, it's just made sense to go with liability only. If we happen to damage somebody else's property, we're covered, and that's the most important thing to me. If I happen to get injured, then I'm covered, and if I happen to not make it through an accident, then my wife will be able to easily pay for the airplane and have plenty left over. So again, I know I just kind of want to sum this up, and then I'll cut this thing short because we don't have to talk forever. But aviation insurance is a huge topic in the industry right now. Rates continue to go up. There are options. Don't think that you just have to take the rate that they're giving you and be okay with it. Think about your situation. Maybe there's a lot of times when it actually makes sense for you to go and get a different policy. Like my life insurance policy gives me confidence in carrying less airplane insurance, and it's way cheaper than airplane insurance. So there are lots of things to think about, and I would encourage you to do that. Go research it, ask questions, ask your peers, ask me, ask in the comments below. If I don't have answers, I'll find them. I'll work with my insurance company or with people I know in the insurance industry to help uncover the truth here. And we can simply have a dialogue as a community and understand what's best for everybody, or help people ask questions that will find what's best for them. So thanks for being here. Thanks for watching My Time to Fly. I'm having a ton of fun. The weather is changing in Michigan, and we'll be in the airplane a ton in the coming months. So I encourage you to stay tuned and be a part of the adventure. Thanks again. Have a good night.